Hello, everyone. We are joined today by Attorney Brandon Walecka. Brandon is an estate planning and elder law attorney and is licensed to handle all of your family's planning needs. Welcome, Brandon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Brad. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad that you were able to join us today. If you could please just tell everyone about yourself and your new law firm.
Sure. So my name is Brandon Walecka, as mentioned. I'm from Walecka Law, PC. I'm an estate planning and elder law practice. I formerly worked for a mid-sized firm spread out across the South Coast and Cape Cod for the last 10 years or so. But about 4 months ago, I went out on my own and I'm really loving it. It's been great. I'm so enjoying the personalized attention I'm able to give to my clients, focusing on crafting individualized plans and giving people peace of mind. It's been really great.
That's great. Great job. It's never easy taking that leap to start your own firm. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the practice areas that you're focused on there?
So I have focused exclusively on estate planning and elder law. That really consists of a bunch of different areas of practice. Think about the traditional estate planning where you think of wills and powers of attorney and healthcare proxies and trusts, but also think of protecting assets from the cost of future long-term care. Think of special needs planning if you had a family member with a disability who had money management issues and you're looking to preserve assets there. Think of traditional tax planning, guardianships and conservatorships or uncontested probate matters, and trust administration. That's sort of the all-encompassing different portions of my practice.
Wonderful. I mean, it sounds like you've got a lot of different aspects of the elder law and estate planning and senior long-term planning covered. And as a senior real estate specialist myself, I'm attuned to the needs of the older generation. So I think you bring a lot of value to them and into the estate planning aspect. Can you expand a little bit on how you assist the elders in our community?
Well, I feel like, as an elder law attorney, I want to try to, focus my practice and surround myself with professionals in the community who are attuned to the complications that seniors are faced with. Elder law is not something you can dabble in and really get it right. So by surrounding myself with professionals such as, even you, Brad, who have a unique set of skills in your industry, I try to surround myself with other professionals, whether it's home care agencies or, skilled nursing facilities, accountants, CPAs, tax preparers, all different types of providers that can support seniors and keep them in their home. I also give back quite a bit to the community. I am lucky enough that several council on agings in the area grant me the ability to do what I describe as mini consultations, these really short, usually 15-minute meetings, which is basically a Q&A with a senior. It's usually, it's been virtually for the last couple of months, but now we've started to go back to actually meeting at the senior center. And it's been great to meet with a client who's got some questions and I can try to give them a little bit of peace of mind. I've also been lucky enough that the Alzheimer's Association of Mass and New Hampshire has been generous enough to give me, an opportunity to do a couple of webinars for them. I write for local publications like the Senior Scope. These are different ways that I'm able to, share my knowledge to the community and again, give a little bit of peace of mind to a complicated time in your life.
Well, that's wonderful. And thank you for doing all of those, services for those clients out there. And, I agree, that the team approach of being able to provide, a network of different professionals, that can help, seniors or others in the community is, a great way to run a business and to, accommodate everyone out there.
Sure.
So it seems like, long-term care is also part of the plan. A lot of questions come up about, who needs long-term care and when you start making that part of your estate plan.
So I think, Ideally, you'll consider or sought to think about long-term care as you approach your retirement years. So most people, mid to late 50s, mid to late 60s, are worried about the future, worried about their future needs. Maybe their peers are struggling with issues of their own, and it sort of puts these issues in the forefront of their mind, and they want to preserve and they want to protect all of their hard-earned assets for their loved ones. I also feel like a lot of people are very surprised to learn that the traditional Medicare and the supplemental insurance doesn't pay for long-term care services. A lot of people were just presuming that, if I get sick and need care, I have Medicare. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. I have Tufts. This is going to cover me if I'm sick in a facility. And it's eye-opening to realize that most of the time that's for short-term situations, not for long-term. So if you have an illness and you're able to bounce back, thankfully, then you're covered. But what happens when that doesn't happen and your illness is progressive or deteriorative and you need more support? How do you pay for it? And I educate clients about the different ways to pay for long-term care and ways to preserve assets to avoid losing assets to the cost of that care, and emphasize, you have to do planning in advance, right? You might be familiar with, there's a 5-year clock for planning for long-term care if you're looking to have Mass Health or Medicaid pay for your care in the future. And again, another surprise, right? Individuals don't realize that that is a requirement, and sometimes they come to me and they're much older, and it's a riskier or more difficult to pass through that 5-year period. So we talk about options. There are options available if you aren't a 5-year clock candidate, but maybe they're not as good, or they're not as clear cut as you would have hoped for. But we still have options that are available on the table.
Wonderful. That's a wealth of information right there. And it's great that, you can educate, general public and your clients on, what their needs, guide them what their needs might be for the future and how to help them get there. So that's great.
Thank you.
Everyone, these days is talking about millennials. But, myself, I'm from the Generation X, which for those that don't know, Generation X is anyone born between 1964 and 1979. And it's just come up recently in my discussions with my wife as well as, planning for the future. For my generation here, Generation X, when should they start planning for the future?
I think the struggle that Generation Xers and millennials have is that their lives are pulling them in different directions. They've got some people have young children or children that are getting into their college years. They have day-to-day obligations. They're working. Maybe their parents are getting older. Parents are most likely boomers who have their own needs, and so they call the Generation Xers the sandwich generation, like sandwiched between the children and the parents. And so it's very difficult to have that, balance and try to find time to do planning. So I encourage everybody, whether you're 18 years old or 100 years old, whether you have $1,000 or you're a multimillionaire, to get some basic planning done.
Great advice. And I definitely agree. And that's, sort of where my family is headed right now, and getting all that taken care of for my kids and their future as well. So, earlier you had mentioned about some of the different types of services you offer and practice in. I know you had mentioned some estate planning. What exactly is an estate plan, and should everyone have one?
Absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, right, everybody, no matter their age, as long as they're an adult and competent, they should have an estate plan put together. An estate plan is basically, think of it like a set of directions that you would put together that leaves your family and your loved ones guidance on, what happens if you pass away or you become incapacitated. It typically consists of various documents that you would execute traditionally with a lawyer. Documents such as a power of attorney, which is to name somebody to make your legal and financial decisions, a healthcare proxy to make personal medical decisions, HIPAA is a privacy law, and so oftentimes we'll do a HIPAA authorization that basically grants the people that you list on the document access to your medical records. I encourage you to do a personal directive, or sometimes called a living will, where you write down, the your goals and your guidance for how to treat you if you were at end of life. Do you want life support, or do you want a feeding tube? These are really important questions that your family may not know the answers to, and they want to respect your wishes. And then, of course, lastly, would be the last will and testament. It is a document that lists who inherits when you pass away. Estate planning, I think, is so very important because most people have traditional values. I want to make things simple for my children. I don't want to overwhelm them with unnecessary tax or delay or public proceedings. I want to keep it private. I want to maintain family harmony. An estate plan can offer that. And I know it's a difficult conversation, but I feel like for me, the peace of mind that a plan creates, the ability to check it off the list and know that you've got it done, is worth its weight in gold. I think everybody should do planning. I truly encourage it.
It's great information, and I wholeheartedly agree with everything you've said there. It's surprising, just talking to friends of mine who have kids and family who maybe have never even heard about an estate plan, or surprised that's an option or something that they should do for their kids going away to college. Might be far away. If anything was to happen to them, with the HIPAA policy, having those documents in place will allow you to help make decisions for them, because at that point they are an adult. So.
Right. I think a lot of people are surprised to understand that, just because an individual is your spouse or your sibling or your child doesn't automatically give them power to make decisions if something were to happen to you. And so it's really eye-opening to realize that because that's not automatic, it can become very frustrating when some tragedy happens, that you're not able to just step in and take over and manage the person's personal or financial situation. And so this is why these documents are so very important, because that misconception is why people don't do planning. Why do planning? My wife is going to take care of me. Well, not if she doesn't have these legal documents in place, because it's going to become much more burdensome for her to step in. And nobody wants to burden the people they care about. So get the planning done. And again, like I said, check that off that list.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I definitely agree with that. And just learning about just the sort of the lack of education there, as part of my follow-up with clients after purchasing a home, or even selling a home, I always recommend they reach out to an estate planning attorney like yourself to start that process if they haven't already done so, especially, new families that are just, purchasing their first home, they've got young kids, and just to have, things in place. I think it's a great way that we can work together to sort of educate everyone in all generations of what they need to do, to protect their family and everyone going forward.
Absolutely. Any major life event, and purchasing a home is high up there. You always want to have your plan reviewed, make sure that things are going to work for you when the time comes. And if you don't have a plan, I think, it's, again, another important thing that you should put on that to-do list pretty quickly.
Great. Wonderful. Yep, I totally agree. So thank you for sharing your take on that. I know, we live in a much different world now here. The world has changed, even since you started your own firm. What have you seen in your practice areas change since COVID, appeared?
Yeah, I mean, social distancing has created lots of new challenges to both the clients and myself in my practice. Pre-COVID documents, were traditionally reviewed in person. The meetings were done in person. The whole process from soup to nuts was traditionally done in person. Even the signings were done through, in-person witnesses and notaries. But with the new pandemic situation, oftentimes we're doing planning, a good portion of the planning remotely on purpose, right? To keep each other safe and to make sure that we do our part to socially distance. But honestly, it's been great. I think clients love it. I mean, the ability to have a meeting in the comfort of your own home safely, to be able to finish the meeting and move on with your day without having to travel or commute to a lawyer's office or to some other location. It's been really great for a lot of clients. And for those that can't do that, in person is what we do, but we practice appropriate behavior while doing that. But even the court has changed, right? The court is allowing for, they have a virtual probate registry, and it's wonderful. I mean, the ability to get on the computer and talk to the probate court directly, have those conversations about filings and planning that I'm trying to do with my clients has been invaluable. Same thing with the registry of deeds. You can do a lot of these filings remotely, virtually. And again, I think it's improved efficiency and improved, clarity on the plan because you can't go into the court. You can in emergencies, but you can't go in a traditional filing. And you can't get into the registry of deeds either for a filing. So this is a great alternative, and I truly hope it stays. I think it's a great, medium of communication that's different than it would otherwise be. So it's been great. And the other thing is I've been really loving how a lot of my educational resources have really expanded on virtual conferences and virtual webinars. I try so hard to keep informed, and through these different virtual conferences, I'm able to watch videos and learn things as they're happening, as the laws are changing. And then again, get right back to my day and move on without having to be burdened by traveling to a national conference someplace far away and losing time with clients, or having to drive, distances in Massachusetts to do educational events. I can do it from the luxury of my office and then move on with my day. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different way of doing business, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially and in the real estate side of things too. A lot of the things you touched on, we're seeing as well too. So when I'm doing my home buyer education for a first-time home buyer, a lot of those times we're doing it over Zoom now instead of having an in-person meeting in the office. So it's nice that this technology exists that we can accommodate all clients, depending on how they feel or what they're comfortable with. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's sort of what you've seen change. What do you see in the future? With sort of COVID. The vaccinations coming out. COVID rates. Sort of fluctuating. Do you see things changing back in your industry, or some of these things here to stay in your industry?
I'm really hoping again that particularly the ability to do things virtually is here to stay. I feel like it's a natural evolution of technology and the busy world that we live in. That now when you want to schedule a meeting with me, there are three options, right? Phone call, virtual, or in person, right? And I think that's going to stay for the foreseeable future. I think again, particularly in the very busy lives we all have, this just seems like a practical way to do business and to interact with individuals. Particularly, I offer all my clients a free review every 3 years. And again, those reviews are typically 30 minutes. And isn't it so much easier to just jump on a Zoom or jump on a conference call with the lawyer than have to come in? And of course, everybody's, I'm more than happy to meet with people in person. I just feel like it's another option that's on the table. And there's an opportunity now to do what's called virtual notarization, which is like virtual signings where you actually can sign digitally. Lawyers haven't quite got into the DocuSign, like the virtual digital signing of documents quite yet, because most of my estate planning documents require a notary stamp. But there is an ability to notarize virtually. It's a little cumbersome, and in my understanding is it is temporary. It's only so long as we're into this pandemic environment. But maybe that'll stay, and I think there's some clunks in it and some opportunities to make some changes there in the legislature for that. But I think it's another tool in the toolbox, right? Another way to be accommodating to seniors with all different kinds of needs, and make planning accessible and available to them. I worry about the isolation that the pandemic caused to individuals, whether it's caregivers that are caring for loved ones or seniors who are homebound and now can't get services. So I'm really, really hopeful that with the change and the vaccinations becoming more widespread, that, with the summer comes, opportunity and ability to get back to normal a little bit. I think that would be wonderful. I think we're all ready for it. I am certainly. I'm sure you are, Brad.
Yeah, no, I think so too, especially with this warm weather coming, people
Yeah.
trying to get, back outside and trying to get back to normal. I think, everything that's changed and it might stay or go back to is going to be, great for everyone and welcoming as well too. So,
Cheers.
um,
Absolutely.
so it's, you were a wealth of information today. I really appreciate your time, today to talk about the services and planning many people are not aware they should be doing and should be doing. I look forward to, continue working with you and assisting our mutual customers and educating and providing resources for them. If you can just take a minute here to tell everyone how to connect with you for additional information on some of the items we spoke about today.
Sure. So, I'm available. Go online, www.waleckalaw.com. That's WALECKALAW.com. You can shoot me an email, Brandon@waleckalaw.com. Again, we're gonna have all the information in the comments. So, you can get my phone number, 774-203-9003. I'm available for any reason. Give me a chat. Reach out to me. I'm glad to answer questions. I'm glad to look over. Maybe you already have planning done. I'm glad to look things over, give you my thoughts on your existing plan, maybe make suggestions, or maybe just give you the peace of mind to say everything looks good. No changes to be made. I think you're fine as you are. But I'm glad to help and guide people in any way I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. This information is valuable to everyone of all generations. If everyone out there, watching, it's never too early to start planning for the future. Please feel free to contact Brandon to get started on your estate plan. And I hope everyone has a